Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Standard Definition, the retro nostalgia podcast here on the Boss Rush Network. I am one of your hosts, Corey Dirrig, and alongside me this week for our MCU in review, none other than the PC Muscle Race himself in a new location, Mr. LeRon Dawkins.
Hey, what's poppin', everybody?
Hi, LeRon.
Hey, Corey. How's it going?
It's going. I see you are slumming it with the headset and the Skype
right?
and the laptop webcam.
Right? Yeah, like I'm on a laptop, not on my rig, because even though there's internet in the house, like internet has not been run through every bedroom in the house. So it's like, come on, guys.
Yeah. So
yeah. So here it is, like perfect example. Right now, my nice gaming rig is basically a $2,500 plus paperweight right now.
It's expensive paperweight.
I mean, I got enough stuff to do. Just can't online game. So I guess I should be playing some of those single player games.
You know what's good at not playing online? The Switch.
What's that? Yeah. As a matter of fact, my Switch is actually in my bed right now.
That's fair. Also joining us is the man, the myth, the legend, Mark Pererra. Hi, Mark.
Hey. Hi. How's it going?
Mark, I'm so glad you're here to do MCU with us.
I'm so glad I'm here.
To be fair, I wanted to do eventually get through the MCU movies through Standard Definition, but I think you're the reason that we're making it a consistent staple throughout the next, I don't know, however long the MCU exists, I guess.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you made us a nice list. I think we still have some things to edit to see what's going to be included and what's not, because
right.
Obviously the end of Hawkeye and the end of something else made some things not canon and maybe canon, and we'll see.
Are we talking about the Web Slinger movie?
No, we're talking about the pendant at the end of. Oh, did you watch Hawkeye yet?
Mm-hmm.
Spoilers, guys, for all MCU. By the way, we're gonna spoil every MCU movie.
Everything,
even if we're not talking about that MCU movie. So this is your warning right here. We'll put the warning at the top of every show. Whatever. The pendant that Hawkeye.
Yeah.
Was it a watch? I thought it was a pendant.
It was a Rolex.
Yeah.
It was a Rolex.
Yeah. Gives Linda Cardellini at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you not know?
That kind of renders Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. not in continuity.
Exactly. Which I'm happy about.
Don't worry, LeRon. We're going to do Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. just for you.
Hawkeye was S.H.I.E.L.D. before the Avengers Initiative. Hawkeye was S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah. Yeah, but Mockingbird was already in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Adrian.
True, Bobby Morse, who technically is Mockingbird, but I think she was supposed to evolve into Mockingbird during her run on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. But stuff happened. Well, they want to spin her off into her own show,
Right.
and then ABC didn't greenlight whatever they had for the pilot.
Right.
Which sucks because I was like, man, I actually liked her character.
She and the guy she was going to do it with were the best part of
Nick Blood, of seasons 2 and 3. Yes, they were.
Right.
Yeah.
But LeRon, I have news for you.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
We're going to do Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Hell yes.
Just for you.
Hell yes.
We're going to do it season. So this is the second episode of Standard Definition that's going up for everybody. The first episode we did was Ghostbusters. You'll be able to check that out soon, I guess. Well, I guess if you're listening to this, it's already up, so you can go listen to it. It was me, Stoy, Stephanie, and Jesse talked 2 hours on Ghostbusters because I watched it for the first time this past weekend.
You can no longer be ridiculed by Chris from Crossroads.
That's not true. There's about 7,000 other movies I haven't seen, so which is also the other half of why Standard Definition exists.
Well, guess what? We ridicule Chris all the time, so y'all can both share the wealth.
Yeah, that's fair. But so what we're gonna do all the MCU, right? This group right here, consistent crew right here. We're going to rank the MCU movies and included television. Does that include the one-shots? Are we going to do the one-shots, or are we just going to be like, meh, one-shots, whatever?
Which ones are we talking about? Which ones?
Like, I know they did one with Ben Kingsley for the Mandarin.
Right.
Oh, no. Let's not do that.
So...
Nah.
And we're...
That one was kind of fun. That one was kind of fun, though, but at the same time, no.
Yeah. Okay, so...
Maybe we could do, like, one, like if we run out of things to talk about, which I doubt in the MCU, we could do one for all the one-shots, because they stopped at some point, so there's a finite amount.
Yeah. Which by the way, like, I'm glad Shang-Chi, like, you know, like, gave Ben Kingsley's character a purpose.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
he was awesome in that movie.
It was a nice way of retconning the whole Mandarin thing without actually retconning it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I like. That's what I like about like serious like movie and TV writing in this day and age. Like shoot, back when I was a kid, they didn't take this shit seriously at all.
Yeah. So what we're gonna do? We're gonna rank the official MCU movies and Disney Plus shows for sure, and then we're still trying to decide what to do with like the Netflix shows and like Agent Carter and stuff, but we'll get there when we get there. We'll talk about that off air. So for TV shows,
we'll talk about that off air.
For TV shows,
I have words.
For TV shows, LeRon, I think for something like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., we're going to do it season by season.
Sure.
And then for something like WandaVision, Loki, etc., the Disney Plus shows, we can
just do the whole run.
Do we want to do the whole season in one go, or do we want to do like half and half, like make it a 2-part?
I'd say half and half, because WandaVision to date is like the longest running, like as far as like numbered episodes.
Plus, like the first 5 episodes are completely different from the second 3 episodes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's kind of our plan for the MCU. You know, I'm so excited because LeRon, we were talking about doing this last year at some point, just you know, doing it for something, and because Logan was still with us and we were talking about doing it for Q List, and I mean, now that show is gone and this show is back, we can kind of work Mark into the mix and make it something awesome.
Because Mark is basically running Boss Rush Entertainment now. So, why
basically, not? He is running Boss Rush Entertainment. Look at him. Look at him. Him and his Spider-Man movie marathon reviews getting thousands of views.
Hey, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Congrats, man.
Yeah.
Thanks.
By the way, I do want to do the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies at some point, too. Mark.
Yeah. I think we should.
I just watched Homecoming with a friend of mine over the weekend. She was home by herself because her husband's on duty. So she was talking about she had an interest in like the Spider-Man movies because she was thinking about going to see the new one when her husband had time. But then she was like, well, but I haven't seen the other ones. I was like, well, we start now. Like, let's get Homecoming. Let's do this.
Yeah. So that's our plan for the MCU. It's probably going to be like an every other week thing, I think is what we kind of decided. So in between, we're going to do like the Disney animation stuff, some random 80s stuff, maybe some video game stuff in there. We have an Indiana Jones saga planned that I really want to do. And so there's going to be some random stuff in between. But MCU every other week. So be excited.
I'm excited.
Also, I had the great idea of every time we review an MCU movie, we'd put a shirt on the merch store with the logo of Standard Def, but in the font of the movie. So, like...
That's a fantastic idea.
Yeah, that's a wonderful idea.
So I think we're going to do that. Guys, I'm excited. Thank you for taking the time out of your... What is it? What is today? Tuesday? Is tonight Tuesday still? Jeez.
Yeah, it's Tuesday. It feels weird given that Christmas was on Saturday. Like this whole weird week feels off now.
I know.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. By the way, LeRon, I know Crossroads records on Tuesday nights, so I think we're going to aim to record this show on Monday nights during the PAL block slot.
Okay.
You know, and then if we do MCU every other week, that'll, you know, if Mark ever wants to be on PAL block or whatever, we can kind of fit it in there. And then, sorry for going over all this back and stuff with everybody. We're still trying to figure this out.
Well, all of our listeners are nation boss rush. So like they know that as the streaming schedules go and stuff. To
be fair, this is like the 10th podcast I've recorded in the last week. So I'm like,
oh man,
my brain is kind of fried. And we have 2 more tomorrow, and then we're doing one on Thursday, and then I'm recording something with Ed on Friday. And then somewhere in there, we still have to record the YouTube channel trailer, LeRon. Like,
yeah, exactly.
So, which will probably be maybe, I don't know, sometime.
Let's do it after New Year's.
Yeah,
let's do it after New Year's.
Yeah, but anyways, this is your episode of Standard Definition. Here we go. I'm going to read the housekeeping real quick, and then we will jump right into Iron Man. This is Standard Definition, the retro nostalgia podcast here on the Boss Rush Network, where each and every Sunday we come together with our friends from around the internet to talk about games, movies, shows, and other topics that make us nostalgic. You can come support us and get the show 2 weeks early by heading over to Patreon, patreon.com/Boss Rush Network, or subscribe on free feeds. If you listen to Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please leave us a 5-star review. It really helps us out, really helps with discoverability, and I know you're going to want more people to listen to this show, because the more people that listen, the more we will continue to provide more shows. You can also catch all of our content on our YouTube channel and on bossrush.net. Note, merch store open right now. I realize Redbubble is not the highest of quality in terms of like sweatshirts and type material. I'm looking for other avenues for that. But right now, if you have to have a merch right now, which I would really appreciate if you would buy a t-shirt or a sticker or something, that'd be cool. You can head on over to redbubble.com/BossRushNetwork and buy some merch. Or if you're on our website watching this, you can click the little store button up this way. And, you can buy something nice. Water bottle, blanket, tote bag, dress. We have a dress if you're into that. So also Standard Definition After Dark are all in review as of this recording. They should be up soon, and then we will start adding the cool Standard Def logo t-shirts, which we're also going to do that for Boss Rush podcast too, LeRon, for some things I'll tell you after the show, because we already did too much crap. Anyways, Iron Man. That little ditty. Iron Man was released on May 2nd, 2008 by Paramount Pictures. How odd was it to see the Paramount Mountain with the stars fly around when you watched?
Yeah, freaking crazy. Oh my God.
I thought I was watching the wrong movie at first.
I know, I did too.
Right? Yeah.
I did too. I was like, did I click on the wrong thing? I'm like, oh crap, this is pre-Disney. This is pre-Disney. So, because Disney didn't buy Marvel until 2011. So this is pre-Disney, and also Marvel Studios' first movie as well as a solo entity. Obviously, X-Men, Spider-Man, Fantastic Four all existed pre-Iron Man, Blade even, but this is the first produced movie from Marvel Studios, directed by Jon Favreau. The movie, starring a then lesser beloved Robert Downey Jr. and a large supporting cast, launched the most ambitious cinema universe since Star Wars. Iron Man also popularized the end credit sequence, which was used as a promotional tool for the next film. It was a huge risk, especially since Marvel signed away their most popular franchises like Spider-Man, X-Men, Fantastic Four to Sony and Fox, respectively, and due to financial difficulties at the studio, which left them with a B-tier roster to work with, which is why the first movies were Iron Man, Incredible Hulk, Thor, and Captain America. The budget for this movie, by the way, $140 million. Total box office was $585 million, including $318 million domestic, with a $102 million opening weekend, which is a lot larger than I anticipated reading. Mm-hmm. Just because it's Iron Man, because when you think of Iron Man being super popular now, he wasn't popular in 2008. I had never even heard of Iron Man, right? not that I was the biggest comic book reader, but I read a lot of X-Men and you know, I read the occasional Spider-Man or you know, a couple other things, right? Like I'd never even heard of Iron Man in 2008. And so that really surprised me. Mark, you wrote some great notes here too in the doc as well. X-Men had made 157 million domestic on its release. Fantastic Four 154 million domestic when it released.
We're talking about Jessica
No,
Alba.
that was total. that was domestic total.
Yeah.
Wait.
So
Fantastic Four, 2 movies or the 2 movies in the reboot?
No, just the one Fantastic Four movie.
Fantastic Four
entire domestic haul was 154 million, which arguably Fantastic Four was much more popular than Iron Man in terms of IP.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true.
X-Men too, totally. Like X-Men
for sure, right?
I can't believe X-Men only made 157 million domestic.
Superhero movies didn't make big bucks back then. It was a huge gamble.
I know.
They were all at risk.
I know. Yeah. It's just like thinking of how popular the X-Men cartoon was in the 90s, right, and then leading up to that first X-Men movie. Like when I knew X-Men was coming in Spider-Man, I was like, okay, yeah, Spider-Man, that's cool. But like X-Men was like, they're gonna make an X-Men movie. Holy crap! And like, that number shocked me for X-Men. Fantastic Four, I was like, I don't know. I kind of felt like Fantastic Four is like a franchise, even though it's popular. It's like a IP stuck in its time, kind of, you know. And so I don't know. It was just shocking seeing those numbers. But the other opposite end of the spectrum, when DC was like killing it in the movie theaters in 2008, shocking. The Dark Knight made over $1 billion worldwide that year, so that kind of puts everything into perspective, I guess. So Batman, Dark Knight, we need to do those movies too, by the way.
Yeah, we do.
Dark Knight, great movie. Great movie. So before we kind of get into the story and what's kind of happening in the story and the characters and everything, what were your impressions watching this movie or rewatching this movie?
Can I go first?
Yeah.
Can I go first?
Yeah.
Okay. So back when Iron Man was coming out, like I used to know like some people, so I used to get hookups to like early screenings of movies and stuff like that. And what they would do is they would not tell you what movie you were going to see until you actually were inside like the theater auditorium. That's when they would tell you. So you just got these tickets. And it was a gamble. Like, do you go see a movie you don't know anything about, or do you just stay home and just like screw it? So me and a buddy, like I got 2 tickets. So me and a buddy went, and I immediately, and when we got in there, they were even tight-lipped about it, because they were like, listen, like, all we're gonna tell you is it's a superhero movie. That's all we're gonna tell you. And I'm like, a superhero movie, and I'm sitting there thinking like, what could they be doing? I can't even remember what was in circulation at the time. So, but I do know I was hoping it wasn't an X-Men movie. I know, because X-Men kind of turned me off. But so like we get down in our seats and everything, and we see the Paramount logo, and they accidentally ran a trailer. So I got to see. I was one of the first people to see the trailer for the 2009 Star Trek movie that was getting ready to come out, because they accidentally ran a trailer. They weren't supposed to run a trailer. So the movie, so the movie's getting ready to start. The publicist comes out there and is like, "Hello, everybody, welcome. Like, we're glad you're here and everything. Thank you for taking the opportunity to come out. And like, you're about to see something that we've been working hard on." And the next words came out of her mouth, and like everybody just went nuts. She was like, "You're about to watch Iron Man tonight." And everybody just went nuts because like it was rumored that an Iron Man movie was coming. But just hearing those words, like everybody just went crazy. So here I am with maybe about 100 other people in a theater. We're watching this movie for the first time, and I was freaking, me and my buddy, we were just blown away. We were like, man, this is probably one of the tightest superhero movies we've seen since, I I can't think of a superhero movie that was that good up to that point.
I would say the only thing close to that in terms of superhero movies would have been Spider-Man 2, probably at that point, right? Like,
yeah, okay, yeah, that's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
I mean,
because I did enjoy the.
Sorry. Up to that point, like we had Batman Begins, right? Like we had Batman Begins, which was good. It wasn't great, right? I don't think the Nolan trilogy came into its own until the second movie, right? Like
the second movie, yeah.
Like we had Batman Begins, which was good, not great, good in my opinion. We had Spider-Man, right? Like the first Spider-Man movie was good. The second one was great. And we had a couple okay to bad X-Men movies, right? Like, I mean, and Fantastic Four movies weren't great either. Like the bar was so low, I feel like, that this could have been a mediocre movie at best, and still, it's like the way we talk about video game movies today, right? Where like the bar was so low that Iron Man could have set a new bar even if it was mediocre.
Man, video game movies need to hit that Marvel bar. I mean, for real, because I just saw Welcome to Raccoon City last weekend, and I was pissed.
Well, X-Men 2 had come out in 2003, which is a pretty good X-Men film and did pretty well. But superhero hits were few and far between at this point, and they were not seen as serious, at least money-making movies. And it's interesting because it's hard to think of Iron Man in the context of 2021 because he's the most popular superhero now, or one of the most popular superheroes now. Robert Downey Jr. is at the top of his game right now, but Iron Man was a risk. Nobody knew who Iron Man was. And out of the two movies that they decided to move forward with, Iron Man and the Incredible Hulk was the known property. That was the surefire hit that they were making. And they knew, they were like, okay, Iron Man was considered the kind of niche art house film that they were doing just to kind of bring one of their other properties to screen. They were like, all of our money's on the Hulk. And what's interesting is Iron Man did much better than the Hulk did. I mean, the Hulk did fine. But
the Hulk did fine. Yeah.
I think at the time, though, Incredible Hulk still had the stink of the Ang Lee film, right? Like,
right.
And people didn't know if it was like a sequel to that movie at this point, like, or was it just like, are we rebooting again? It's the Hulk. Is it just going to be like a weird, let's smash stuff action movie, right? Like,
right.
Okay, unpopular opinion. The Ang Lee Incredible Hulk was not that bad.
I've never seen it.
So I'm watching it now for the first time to prepare for when we record our next. I know we're not doing that movie, but I'm saying so I'm reading the story of Marvel Studios, which is a big 2-volume book about the story of the entire Infinity Saga. So everything from Iron Man through Spider-Man Far From Home. And when they're talking about making the Incredible Hulk, they really view Ang Lee's The Hulk as the first movie, and they view the Incredible Hulk as kind of like a spiritual sequel. And so they didn't really consider, I mean, they consider it like a soft reboot, but we could talk about this when we talk about that movie, but
they keep soft rebooting Hulk.
Right.
So what you're saying is we should have started with Ang Lee's Hulk for MCU time.
No, but
no. We're doing this right. We're doing this right. We're starting with the movie that kicked everything off.
Yes, but my point is it's interesting because they had, while Ang Lee's Hulk didn't set the world on fire, it made its budget back. It made more than its budget. It did pretty good. It had good critic reviews. And so it's just interesting to try to put your mind back in 2007, 2008, where Marvel's like, okay, even if Iron Man fails, we know that the Incredible Hulk is going to do amazing because that's our known IP. That's going to be our blockbuster hit. And it just was the complete reversal of that. And Iron Man, I mean, they completely, not only did Iron Man do so well, the entire MCU is built on Tony Stark's shoulders. I mean,
exactly.
every Spider-Man Spider-Man in the MCU wouldn't exist without Iron Man.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at all of the shows that are coming out on Disney Plus, WandaVision wouldn't have happened without Iron Man, without him creating Vision.
Ultron.
You wouldn't have Armor Wars is coming out, like all the Ironheart, all these things that have to do with Iron Man. And so it really is the house that Iron Man built. And it's crazy because it was such a risk in 2008 because no one knew who Iron Man was. And then Robert Downey Jr. himself, like he had a really great career and then had really public struggles with addiction. And so he was a risk too, because they couldn't get insurance for him because he was an insurance risk. And so they just made a huge gamble with Iron Man. And it's really, knowing what we know now, is just really crazy to think of how uncertain it was.
Yeah.
At that time.
Yeah. And like to tell, I mean, not that they did it in this movie, but they do touch on it in the second movie, to tell a story about someone who actually kind of struggles with, really some sort of addiction, right? Like with alcoholism specifically in the second movie, like to cast someone who struggles with addiction in a role of a character,
an actual addict.
Yeah, like that was probably like, I mean, there were so many red flags. I don't know if you guys watched the documentary or whatever, assembling the one on Disney Plus. I forget what it's called. About
it was called The Symbol.
Was it? Okay, yeah. And like other people that saw, like they were looking at to play Tony Stark were Tom Cruise and Nicolas Cage at some point, because like the rights kind of flip-flop between Paramount and Fox, and there's a third entity in there at some point, Universal, I think, because that's where the Hulk ended up going.
Right.
So I mean, I don't know. I couldn't imagine anybody else playing this character, right? It's like, it's equivalent to Ryan Reynolds in Deadpool. Like, there's very few people you could imagine playing these characters now, But
what it signaled is that when they hired Robert Downey Jr., who, yes, had struggles and all of that, was it signaled that Marvel was in the business of making movies, not superhero movies. Because Robert Downey Jr., I don't know if he had won an Oscar, if he was nominated for an Oscar, but he was at least an Oscar-nominated actor who, before that point, that was unheard of to have. And because Robert Downey Jr. signed on, then Jeff Bridges said yes, and Gwyneth Paltrow said yes, who are really, really odd choices for a popcorn blockbuster superhero movie. And they would not, and it really signaled to everyone that Marvel and Kevin Feige in particular were looking to do character first and not spectacle. And that, I think, is the difference in Iron Man. When you watch it, it really is about the character of Tony Stark and how he becomes Iron Man, and the characters around him, and the spectacle really takes a back seat to that character development. And it kind of loses that a little bit in Iron Man 2, but it picks it back up in Iron Man 3. But it really is this kind of focus on character and not spectacle for spectacle's sake.
Yeah, there's really, to that point, aside from like the cave sequence where he's escaping, and like kind of the end sequence where he's fighting, Ironmonger, like there's not really a lot of action in this movie, right? Like, I mean, I guess there's like that small scene where he flies and blows up the tank, that really cool scene where he blows up the tank and he's walking away and it blows up, which is really cool. It's like the coolest scene in the whole movie. And then, like, I guess the airplane scene, right, or the fighter jet scene,
the fighter jets
is cool. But like, there's really not a lot of like, I mean, you think of MCU today, every 30 seconds I feel like there's a action scene, right? And this really doesn't have that, Yeah,
it's a nice breath of fresh air. It's like you have some time to breathe between scenes, and you can really get to know these characters. And listen, I love the MCU, and I love where it is right now, and I love everything that it's doing, but it's nice to take a step back where everything wasn't trying to set up the next 10 years of films. And it was just, let's tell this one really, really small story. It's a really small story. If you were to put an outline on paper, it's like 3 bullet points. And
This feels like.
let's just.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Sorry.
No,
sorry.
it's nice to have that.
Yeah, this really feels like what Disney's trying to do on the Disney Plus shows. To be honest, like this type of story is what they're doing now with the Disney Plus shows, and it's really. It was like you said. It was a really nice change of pace. It was a breath of fresh air. A lot of like really deep storytelling in this movie that like, I mean, you still see it in the MCU, but like, man, it's just they did something really cool here with this. Like you said, they went movie first, superhero movie second, which was the smart move.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which they actually did in The Incredible Hulk also, which we'll do next time, obviously. But like, there's not a lot of Hulk in The Incredible Hulk either.
Right. Yeah, and there's reasons for that, which we can talk about next time. There's some behind the scenes turmoils that happen with that movie, but but again, what a way to put your mark. Like, say, here we are to come out with this movie with a character nobody knew about, with an actor that nobody really cared about anymore, who was a liability, and do a movie that was mostly, like, I would say more than half non-action, and just dominate, like take over the world with that movie.
Yeah. So I'm going to read a small synopsis here real quick of the movie, just so people who, I don't know how you haven't seen this movie already if you're listening to this. So in 2008's Iron Man, the movie tells the story of Tony Stark, a billionaire industrialist and a genius inventor who is kidnapped and forced to build a devastating weapon. Instead, using his intelligence and ingenuity, Tony builds a high-tech suit of armor and escapes captivity. When he uncovers a nefarious plot with global implications, he dons his powerful armor and vows to protect the world as Iron Man. So let's talk about Tony Stark and Robert Downey Jr. specifically. Perfect fit for the role. I mean, we kind of already went over it, but like, who else would be playing this role? Like,
I can't imagine anyone. I really can't.
It's crazy to think, like, what would this movie be like with Tom Cruise? Because Tom Cruise was in the running for Iron Man, or was considered, which I think, I don't know, not to be spoilery or talk about rumors or whatever, but I think that's going to play into some multiverse soul shenanigans in future movies. Mm-hmm. But like, I think it would be like, if Tom Cruise is a fantastic actor, Tom Cruise is committed to his stunts and is a great action actor, and so I think it would be a really cool movie. But I just don't. Tom Cruise is charismatic, all of those things, but there's just something. There's something a little desperate about Robert Downey Jr., particularly in this movie, and I think he really wanted to prove that he was someone to be talked about again, someone to be talked about positively again. Yeah. And I think that really shows. I think I was reading a story about when he showed up for the screen test, which was pretty unheard of, because even though he came on some hard times, he was a big actor, and in order to convince the higher ups to hire Robert Downey Jr., he said, I'll do a screen test. And so he came in some big fancy sports car, sped in, walked in wearing a big, a suit and a scarf, and kind of threw his scarf over his shoulder and was like, I'm ready for my makeup, and kind of walked in all Tony Stark-like. And it's like, even from that moment, he embodied the character. And so I think he was really desperate to prove that he could do it again. And I think that's that something extra that sets his role apart, is that he needed this movie. This movie needed him, but he really needed this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, agreed.
Yeah. And like, there are scenes in that movie where you can tell, like, sometimes you're like, is this him acting, or is this him really being, needing this, like, I don't know. It just felt like a real performance, and not that nobody else's performances feel real or anything, but like, this felt like a real performance, like life or death performance for him, you know, and it just works, man. It just works.
Yeah.
So also in this movie, who signed on because Robert Downey Jr. was in it was Jeff Bridges. Also another amazing performance, because like, I don't know, when I think of Jeff Bridges, I think of you know, Tron or The Dude, right? Like I just think of, that's Jeff Bridges, right? I don't think of him as this like scary villain character, right? But he's a great villain.
And what's interesting is that when he signed on, he wasn't supposed to be the villain. The Mandarin was supposed to be the villain. And when they kind of got closer to shooting and Jeff Bridges was already cast, they were like, this isn't working. We have to do too much explanation of who the Mandarin is. And it just feels a little bit too fantastical. And so they kind of changed it a little bit. And so Jon Favreau had to go to Jeff Bridges and be like, listen, you didn't sign on to be the bad guy, but we'd like for you to be the bad guy. And then he crushed it. He did a fantastic job.
Mm-hmm.
I think up to a certain point, which we can talk about.
Basically the last act of the movie.
Yeah. But he wasn't even supposed to be the villain in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He was great. Like I think when I saw this movie, like it really threw me off that he was the villain. You know, like it's like at the party when they kind of like reveal that he's behind the what's happening, right? And then he goes to where Tony Stark was captured and kind of murders the entire camp essentially. Yeah. Like that was intense. Like I was like, oh man, this is crazy. Like this is. And then when he's like yelling at the scientists to make the arc reactor smaller, right? Where he's like, the technology's right here. And, you know, Tony Stark's got it and made it out of a box of scraps. You know, like it was, that was a great.
I loved those scientists' reaction to that too.
Yeah. I'm not Tony Stark. Yeah.
But I mean, again, it was really smart casting and a smart decision to make him the bad guy because it was against type. So now you watch the movie and I feel it's pretty obvious he's going to be the bad guy, right? I feel like they really show that kind of.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, but the
first telephone that's going to happen. But the first time, Jeff Bridges usually wasn't the villain, and so to have him play the villain, that really did subvert expectations once again.
It's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy that he wasn't intended to be the villain. Come on, look at that name, Obadiah Stane. Come on, that sounds like a that sounds like a twirly mustache. Like
my thing is, I wish the villain roles, and I know we're kind of staying away maybe from future stuff, but like I wish the roles would have been changed between Iron Man 1 and 2. Like I wish Obadiah would have been the villain in the second movie and Whiplash be the villain in the first movie, because I feel like Jeff Bridges was wasted and he's really good as this character. And like, I mean, knowing what we know now, right? Like it makes sense, right? But like with the end credit scene, maybe of him being like the mustache twirling villain almost at the end in an end credit scene almost. I don't know. I would have liked to see more Jeff Bridges in the MCU, and it's sad that like they wasted him on this first villain, you know, because he's so good. You know.
Yeah, he's really good.
So Gwyneth Paltrow plays the greatest assistant of all time, Pepper Potts. Very, very like she's not in it a ton, but she's great in the role, right? Like, I mean, she has a few key moments, like when she kicks the chick that slept over at the beginning, and she says,
okay, the reporter.
I do everything Tony Stark requires, including sometimes taking out the trash. This is such a great line. So good.
Yeah.
It's a good line. Yeah.
And it's nice, like, again, that subversion of expectations. Like, she wasn't a damsel in distress. I mean, yes. At the end of the movie, she did, like, he was like, I want to kill Pepper Potts or whatever, and it's a shame she has to die. And yeah, so yes, she was a damsel and she wasn't distressed,
but she wasn't a classic trope that she used to be in the comics and the old school cartoons.
Right,
she was not that trope.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and she was smart. She could go toe to toe with Tony Stark. She was she had her own kind of wants and desires, and I feel like even throughout the rest of her appearances, they did a really good job with her of having her be not just there to be fodder for the hero's story. She was there in support of the hero's story, but she didn't ever die so that he would have someone to avenge or whatever. She didn't she was there to kind of lift him up and kind of help him out. And so I thought, and Gwyneth Paltrow did a really great job in a role that could have been pretty thankless, but she kind of held her own against Robert Downey Jr. And so I thought she was fantastic in the movie.
Yeah. Pepper Potts is just she like you said, Mark, she just can go toe to toe with Robert Downey Jr. And even at the end where she's like kind of prepping his makeup or whatever, and he's like, "Do you ever think about that night?" She's like, "You mean the night when we danced and you went downstairs to get me a drink and you never came back?"
I mean, it was just such a perfect nod towards, oh, this is the moment where the hero gets the girl and they kiss and whatever, and they didn't do it.
Yeah.
And it was really nice.
She
they didn't do it. And she shot him down.
Yeah.
And I love that was very well. It was earned. It was very good.
Yeah.
I loved how they wrote her to where she always handled Tony. I love that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like the richest, most powerful, one of the most richest, powerful men in the world, and she can just tell him no. He's
being bitched by his secretary.
That's right.
Yeah. So yeah, she was great. Rhodey, Colonel Rhodes, played by Terrence Howard, his one and only appearance as his character in the MCU. This was the first person on this list where I thought, okay, they recast him. Don Cheadle obviously plays Rhodey in the MCU now since Iron Man 2. It was a good choice. Nothing against Terrence Howard. I think he's a good actor, right? I think he's great in certain roles, but this was not one of them. I did not buy him as a military officer at all.
Yeah, he was in a much different movie than everyone else was. Mm-hmm. And I think, which again, this is interesting now in 2021, I think he was one of the first ones to be attached to the movie, and he was the big name.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, so I think there was a little bit of star power they were trying to go with at that point, but it just, he just didn't do a great job. He was, he wasn't very good.
No, he almost took me out of the movie. He just didn't. I don't know. And maybe it's just because I'm watching this because Don Cheadle is so much better in this role. But and even when I saw this, I was just like, man, I don't understand why he's in this role. You know what I mean? Right. I don't like him in this role at all, actually.
Yeah.
Next time, baby. Nope.
Yeah. It just was too much. It was like he was trying to be the Terrence Howard show or something. And it was like, no, know your role, my friend. Yeah. This is not your movie.
Yeah. What do you think, LeRon? You didn't say much.
You know what? I really didn't have that big of a problem with Terrence Howard portraying Rhodey. Now I will say, Don Cheadle definitely is the stronger character portraying, or was a stronger actor portraying that character. I think the problem that Terrence Howard had is he probably just never could find the balance between the comedy that James Rhodes brings to all of his scenes and the seriousness, because if you look at how Don Cheadle plays it so straight that I was like, okay, he's funny, but he's being serious right now too, whereas Terrence Howard, it was unbalanced. It was like, okay, he's funny and this is an Air Force colonel, we're supposed to take him seriously, but we can't take him seriously because they're too busy laughing, or the times that he's being serious, when in one of the major scenes where where he's trying to figure out like, are they fighting a drone or whatnot? Like he's being serious, but like his lines are coming off, kind of comedic,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, like I feel like he just never could find the balance, and it's bad to say because Terrence Howard himself is not a bad actor.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like he's not a terrible actor at all.
The problem is like he's been stereotyped by so many other roles that he's been played that like a lot of people going in there familiar with Terrence Howard, they're expecting to see something and they're like, wait, this is throwing me, and then and like I said, the fact that he has a script where he's supposed to come off comedy, like I've never really known Terrence Howard to have like comedic chops.
Yeah. So I mean, I think obviously Don Cheadle is, like we've all said, is the better roadie. I wish there was a way they could like edit him into this movie, but I mean, I know they're not going to, but man, Happy Hogan, played by the director Jon Favreau. He wasn't in it a lot, but
man, it was amazing. Like it was amazing seeing how skinny Jon Favreau was back then.
I know.
Yeah. Like we fast forward now, like Spider-Man. What was it? Spider-Man, not Homecoming. I get all those names.
No Way Home, Far From Home.
I'm getting
Home
all
Alone.
those. Oh, yeah, well, I haven't seen No Way Home yet, so Far From Home. Like I'm getting all those movies confused because they're all troping like the word home, and stuff like that. But yeah, like seeing him now, like and like his current appearances in like the Spider-Man movies, like man. But then again, Favreau's also got a cooking show and all that stuff. So like, hey man, let the man eat.
And he's also like building the Star Wars universe right now on Disney Plus too.
Right.
So I mean,
oh yeah,
that guy knows how to build a universe, I guess. At least start one, right? So.
Yeah, I think it's nice that he was he cast himself in this role, and it's kind of, I just love. I know we're not talking about future movies, but I love that he's just been a constant presence throughout the year because he really is kind of he started I know he didn't start the whole MCU, but he directed Iron Man, right? So he was integral to that really set the tone for what these movies are. They're character driven. They're funny. They're not afraid to show some emotion, but they're kind of light and breezy, and so he really set that tone. And so it's nice to see him show up in all of these different movies because it's just a little reminder that Dad's home. Like here he comes. He's checking in on his kids.
And I haven't seen No Way Home either, but at least in like seeing him in Far From Home, like he's still doing his job for Peter now, like, I mean, it's like you said, Mark, it's really nice to see him continue to be a part of this universe, even though like he's not really like a real part of the universe. He's just like that nice reminder of,
and we'll probably talk about this when we talk about Iron Man 2, but it did not, for a while, it did not go well between Jon Favreau and Marvel. And so to see him coming back and doing that is just like a nice little, not that it went horribly, but there were just some behind the scenes stuff and
right.
We'll talk about that more, but it's just kind of nice to see him return, even though he never returned to direct another movie after Iron Man 2, but he's still a part of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then the last of the major characters in this movie, not knowing he would become such a popular / main focus of at least phase 1, right? Agent Phil Coulson, played by Clark Gregg, is just perfect. Like you could just see his, he doesn't really do anything that's that comical or funny in this, except for when they put that little bomb on the door and they all walk away and kind of stand with their arms folded over, and then he just does it very deliberately, like very very deliberately does it, and it was just, so weird.
What I liked about what I liked about Clark Gregg's Agent Coulson, like in Phase 1, is like basically he had that role where like when he showed up, everybody was like, "Hey, it's that guy! Hey!" It was one of those things. Yeah, and like so it's crazy that we see Coulson like like evolve all the way up to Avengers, and then like he basically becomes his own entity, through Agents of Shield, and then just when we thought we couldn't get any more Coulson, then he shows up in Captain Marvel.
Right. Yeah, he just plays the role with such an earnestness. He just seems like, I'm just lucky to be here, guys. And so he is the everyman presence, and he is he's great in the role.
Coulson's one of my favorite. Actually, he is my favorite. He's my favorite character. That is spawned through the MCU. Like
he just likes him because he got his own show that nobody cares about except for him.
Well, that's not it. I don't know. Like there's always been something about Clark Gregg I've actually liked, and the way he portrays like Coulson is this is a nerd that saves the world.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great. This cast, man, it's just a great cast. They all have great chemistry. There's not like one person who, I mean, Terrence Howard, I guess, but there's not like, they don't nobody like ruins anything for anybody else, like everybody plays off of each other well. It's all pretty believable. The one thing I do like about this movie, which is kind of like not my problem with the MCU moving forward or recently, but like a concern I have is like this movie felt really grounded, and everything through Phase 1 really felt grounded. And I mean, I know we're getting into the cosmic stuff and the multiverse stuff and the magic stuff, which is great and stuff, but like I really appreciated this movie because it was grounded, and I don't know, I really enjoyed this whole movie. Just a smart guy building a robotic suit out of in his basement and shooting stuff. I guess he's like Batman.
Well, and it's a redemption story. It's a redemption story in front of the camera and behind the camera, and that's something that people love. Redemption stories. They love seeing themselves in the stories that they're watching, and so it's a story about on camera Tony Stark trying to salvage his reputation and kind of find his place in making the world a better place. Behind the scenes, it's about Robert Downey Jr. trying to salvage his career and show that he's got something left to say instead of people saying things about him. For Kevin Feige and Marvel, it's about them salvaging Marvel's reputation, who filed for bankruptcy and sold all of their rights to all of their characters before this movie came out, and then we're able to slowly start to buy that back, and so through and through, it's a redemption story. Jon Favreau hadn't done anything big before directing this movie, except for Elf, which was phenomenal, but not an action movie. And then he directed Zathura, which was the sequel to Jumanji, which technically was good, like from a directorial standpoint, but bombed in the box office. So It was across the board a redemption story, and I think that's why. I think that's what makes this movie so special, is not just what it started, but that everyone on there was there not just to make a movie, but to make something, like to make their lives better, and it shows through everything throughout the film.
Yeah, for sure. I want to kind of talk about our favorite moments of the movie now, if that's cool with people, everybody. Favorite moments. Mark, this is why I love having Mark on the show. Your favorite moments, like what did you like about this movie? Like what were your standouts?
Well, obviously the scene where he is like finally Iron Man and he goes to Gomera and is blows up the tank. I mean, that is a badass scene. That is a fantastic scene. But my absolute favorite moment in this film, also has to do with my favorite moment in Avengers Endgame, is when Tony Stark is found after he's been captured, and he says, I want an American cheeseburger and I want, whatever, and they go and get a cheeseburger. And the reason why I love that moment is because if you know Robert Downey Jr.'s story, his rock bottom moment was in the bathroom of a Burger King. And he realized he needed to change his life. And so he wanted Burger King to be represented in the movie. And so he's eating a Burger King burger in that scene. And I just love that story. I love the fact that, it didn't distract from the film. If you didn't know it, it's just a funny line. He wants a burger and he's eating a burger, right? It has nothing to do with really anything. But if you dive in a little bit deeper, it's again that story of redemption, and it just humanizes everything. It makes him a real human character who does these fantastical things, but then at the end of the day, like, wants to do better for himself. And so that is my hands down one of my favorite moments in the MCU. Definitely my favorite moment in this movie. And so yeah, I love that tiny little moment.
Cool. Yeah, I guess I didn't really realize that either. Like, I was like, oh, product placement, Burger King must have sponsored this movie. Like, that was my thought. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was like, well, I do enjoy a good rodeo burger. But LeRon, what cool moments are your favorites in this movie?
My favorite moment was one of my favorite moments was definitely like the dog fighting scene when they were trying to figure when the Air Force was trying to figure out like what the hell just happened, and they send out a couple of jets to investigate and stuff like that, and they keep saying it's like, we think this is a UAV. It's like it's tiny. And stuff like that. Like that whole scene, the way that played out was actually pretty funny. Even though I did mention that, as Terrence Howard was playing this out, I was like, okay, this is a pretty serious moment, but like it's coming off kind of chuckle funny, and stuff like that. And then I guess kind of the magic of that scene though is like Rhodes calls Tony. He's like, hey, like, do you have any tech out where we picked you up at? And Tony's just lying through his teeth and everything, and he's even terribly lying, because at one moment he's like, oh, I'm driving with the top down, and then he's like, well, you sound like you're out of breath. Oh, I'm running right now. And he's like, you just said you were driving with your top down. Stuff like that. Yeah. But actually, I think my favorite scene in the movie is not even an action scene. It was a scene where he was finally changing out that hybrid arc reactor out of his chest, and he had Pepper helping him, and that was it was just a wonderfully like well acted scene. It's a serious moment because at one point, like, he actually is going into cardiac arrest and stuff like that, but at the same time, like, it was one of those situations where you actually saw that blossoming thing happening with Tony and Pepper that would play itself out throughout the how many movies ran by the time we got to Endgame? Like, I
21, 2,
3, 22.
Yeah, but we got to see. I feel like that movie was. I feel like that scene in the movie was the start of where we saw like something was going to happen with them. Yeah. So that's my favorite. Like, and honorable mentions go to all the testing scenes that he did in the robot. Oh, yeah, for sure. with the robot drone that was basically just like hosing him down with fire repellent every time he twitched.
Yeah, and then like when he finally like flipped himself up and hurt himself, like when he fell through the roof or whatever, and
it took it like a whole minute before
it was like a huge delay. It's hilarious. Yeah, that part's so funny. I really liked so I guess we'll get to this more in the next, like, what really missed for us, and I think all of us kind of have the same idea of what missed, but like the action scene against Ironmonger at the end, like in the final act of the movie, like not the fight in particular, but there are certain moments like when he like flew through the bus, right? Or like he caught the car and like kind of set it down, was pretty cool looking, right? Like I think a lot of when there was action on screen, I think it was done really well. Like the computer animation was definitely done really well, especially for 2008, right? Like, I mean, there was like, that's where like all this budget went, you know? It kind of reminded me of like Jurassic Park a little bit, where like they filmed so much around using computer animation to where they didn't have to, right? And then when they did, they went all in on it, you know? And I really thought it was animated well. As someone who went to school for art and design and stuff, like when it's not done well, it really sticks out. Like it really sticks out. And the fact that I couldn't really tell what was real and what wasn't in most of the movie was really cool.
Yeah, I was reading, you know, Jon Favreau was really against, which is interesting now because he has since directed The Lion King and The Jungle Book, which was all completely CGI. Yeah. But he was really against computer-generated graphics, and so he wanted to do everything practically, and he was saying it wasn't until, because Transformers came out in 2007, and so it wasn't until Transformers came out when he saw that they really, I mean, say what you will about that movie, the transforming scenes in particular really showcase that hard metallic surfaces could look real in a computer graphic as computer generated images. And so he then went, he then went back in and added in more scenes showing Tony Stark putting on the suit and all of these gears and things whizzing and whirring, because he was like, okay, we can't really do this. But everything for the most part was very practically done.
This was
the first Iron Man suit was real. The person in the suit, it wasn't Robert Downey Jr., but the person in the suit was shooting 20-foot flamethrowers. Like it was real and not fake, not graphically computer graphics. So I think that the animation in this movie was really incredible for 2008.
Yeah, and this was the only movie where the suit, like they had a fully suited person. Every other movie Iron Man's been in, it's been CG. At least parts of it, if not most of it, if not all of it, CG.
Right.
So, very impressive, man. We got to do Transformers at some point now, guys. You brought up Transformers. We got to do Transformers.
No, we don't.
I've only seen the first one, and I did not like it.
Oh man,
I tapped out in the second one.
Am I the only loser who likes those first three movies? The fourth movie is like the worst movie I've ever seen in my life, but I kind of really liked those first three movies.
I'm willing to do it, and the music from the first one the score is fantastic, so I'm willing to do it. But I did not like the first one.
Wait, didn't Michael Giacchino do the Transformers?
No, it was I'll tell you.
He's gonna tell us, everybody. But man, I thought that Transformers really showcased how good computer animation can be if you like really spend a lot of money on it.
I agree.
Steve Jablonsky.
Okay, I have no idea who that is.
I heard of that guy.
He did Transformers.
I'm just kidding. I've never heard of him. Sorry. But yeah, I really also like the scene where like the robots are trying to figure out how to take his suit off, and Pepper walks in on him, and he's just like there's this really long pause, and he's just like, "Let's face it, this isn't the worst thing you've ever caught me doing."
Yeah.
Which was that was a cute scene. It was good. All right, so I kind of want to talk about this third act in particular in terms of really Jeff Bridges' performance really kind of felt not great. Especially like it's so over the top to where like if I don't mind the over the topness of the villain, but only if it's done right. And I just really felt like this was not done great. Like it's serviceable, it's passable, but it's not great. Especially when he's like, Tony, you like my new
Yeah.
suit?
It was almost like somehow like Obadiah's character was supposed to have transformed into something before he put the suit on.
Yeah.
But like all we knew was it was just some dude that was desperate to get a piece of the pie that Tony had, And I was like, dude, did your IQ just drop like 40 points? Like what happened?
Right.
You were pretty intelligent too. Like what's up?
Right.
What's unfortunate in that scene is because I remember thinking, well, this kind of took a turn for the worse when I first saw it, and I've seen it many times since then. But when I was watching it specifically to record this episode, I was like, what do I not like about the scene? Because the action is really good, and the action is kind of honestly surprising because I wouldn't call Iron Man an action movie until that last fight scene, really.
Mm-hmm.
And so, to me, I don't necessarily think it's Jeff Bridges' performance. I think it comes down to the choice that they made to change his voice, because it doesn't ring true in the universe that they were creating, because Tony Stark's voice doesn't change when he's in the suit. It's still his own voice. And so to make it deeper and kind of bigger and a little bit more cartoony and make it sound like match the suit, which I understand what they're trying to do. It's this big suit, so they're trying to make it match the suit. But it just kind of seemed like a real broad cartoony choice. Mm-hmm. And I wonder if they were to take that effect away and just have Jeff Bridges say the things that he was saying as Jeff Bridges playing Obadiah Stane, I feel like it would have come across a lot better and not so hammy.
Kind of like how what they let James Spader do as Ultron. Like they just like, here's the script.
That was just James Spader talking like they didn't change his voice, and that I think some people didn't like that. That worked for me, and so at least it rang true. And I think that's what audiences want. I think audiences want things that ring true, and it just specifically in the rules that they set up in the movie, Tony Stark talked and sounded like himself when he was in the suit. It didn't ring true for what they had already set up for Obadiah Stane to speak differently. And then on top of that, the things that he was saying were very stupid and very mustache twirling villain. And so, but then you add the cartoony voice, and it's just like, this third act feels like it belongs to a different movie. But I feel like it could be salvaged with some different choices.
Is it me, or because I just watched the movie. I watched the movie in preparation for this. Is it me, or did it feel like, or did it seem like the reason was a little too flimsy for why he was doing what he was doing? Yeah, he was jealous that basically Tony's parents had died, and he basically had to be the regent to this kid before the kid took over the empire and stuff like that. But at the same time, did it also seem just a little flimsy, like how he got to that point? Because let's look at this. Like, if in the real world, if you're a person, if you're a proxy for somebody, if you make the right choices, you're making billions of dollars, while you're in that role. So it's not like the money or the potential of money that you're going to make disappears the moment this child turns 21, and all of a sudden he takes over the company that he was meant to take over. Like, if you do it right, you're going to be just as rich. Or did I miss something there?
No, I think some things were cut out, or I think some things didn't really connect. I think the point that they were trying to make was he was caught and implicated in doing backroom deals with selling guns to terrorists, right? So it wasn't just about making money. Now he's facing jail time, and then there's proof that he had a hit on Tony Stark.
Yes.
So then at this point, he's just like, this whole time he's just trying to get this tech to sell it to bad guys and make more money and become really rich. But then he's caught, so he's got nothing to lose. So then he's like, well, screw it, I'm gonna be a bad guy now, right? So, but I think that some of that nuance was lost in some editing and whatever. But I think that was the story that they were trying to tell. He was a desperate man at the end of his rope, trying to salvage what he could.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, now that you explain it like that, it makes perfect sense why he was basically a one and done villain. Right. And let's just think about this for a second. We've watched a lot of MCU. There hasn't been many villains coming back. There hasn't. Right. Like the only one I can say has really come back is Red Skull, and he wasn't technically a villain his second time around.
Right. Well, I mean, there's Loki and Thanos.
Yeah. Look, well, Thanos was a villain until he was all of a sudden sympathetic, and it was like, oops.
Right.
I don't know. I watched What If. He was basically a comedy gold in that.
You know what? I never finished that. What If kind of crashed and burned for me. I never finished it.
I only watched I watched like 3 episodes, whatever the first 3 episodes were.
I think What If is going to be very, very, very important for future Marvel movies.
You know what I want?
So I would recommend watching it.
Side tangent from What If. I want a Captain Carter movie.
I think,
or at least a Disney Plus show.
For sure, Captain Carter is going to be in Doctor Strange 2. No question.
That's what I feel. That's honestly what I feel like. What If was all about. Like I feel like it was some type of setup for Doctor Strange, for the new Doctor Strange.
For sure.
And you know, like it's crazy because like out of the episodes I've seen, the Doctor Strange one was the best one out of what I've seen.
Yeah, no, it was the best one out of all of them.
And the Marvel Zombies was second place. I didn't like the way it ended. Well, I feel like they can never quite end those episodes properly, you know.
And I'm not great idea, and they don't know where to
I feel like they tried to cram. First of all, I hated the art style. First of all,
you did?
Yeah, I hate.
I didn't like it.
I hate the art style of What If, but I feel like they tried to cram. They tried to cram probably at least an hour-long story into 27-ish minutes.
Yes,
and. No offense to the actors who came back to play the roles, because it's very important, but like they're not, a lot of them aren't voiceover actors, and they weren't directed well, and a lot of it just sounded like they didn't know what they were doing. And
well, weren't they still doing this stuff in their own homes? I've heard a lot of actors had to build their own soundproof booth and just record their lines. And
but the Chris Evans stand-in in Captain Carter was awesome.
Yeah.
Right. The Black Widow stand-in was fantastic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I don't know. They could have gotten sound-alikes that do a better, you know. That's just me. Back to Iron Man.
Yeah, back to Iron Man. I didn't want to spin this off into the greater MCU.
Well,
or the outlier MCU.
Are there any other moments that kind of didn't really do it for you in this movie, or are we kind of all in agreement that last kind of
last act?
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't a terrible ending to the movie. I just think it could have been done better, and Jeff Bridges' performance wasn't great.
It felt like a superhero movie in the third act. And the entire movie before then didn't. And so it was kind of a letdown because it was like, wow, this is a real movie. This is not a superhero movie. This is like a real film. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, oh no, here it is. And they couldn't quite get the ending right.
Yeah. All right. So you can't talk about a Marvel movie without talking about the end credits scene, which is very nice of Disney Plus to put a skip credits button at the end of the movie so we can get right to the scene. So I'll just set up the end credit scene first, and then we'll kind of talk about our initial impressions and whatever. At the end of the credits, Tony Stark walks into his home, right? And here's the phone ring, right? And then he goes to answer it, and the power kind of goes out, right? And then Nick Fury is standing behind the couch, which nobody really knows who it is yet. And I think a lot of people were like, if whoever stayed to watch it that first time, probably at first assumed it was setting up the next movie, which it kind of, but not. It was more the, he turns around and says, who are you? And he's like, I'm Nick Fury, and I'm here to talk to you about the Avengers Initiative. And I'm sure a lot of people went nuts for that.
By the way, in that early screening that I saw for Iron Man, They didn't have the end credit scene.
Yeah,
and I think it was them setting us up so that we actually went back to the theaters and paid real money to watch the movie.
I'm sure, 100%.
Well, honestly, what I read was the whole thought of doing a post-credit scene was because they didn't think necessarily that it was going to work. They weren't sure that they were going to be able to pull. I mean, in order to get to Avengers, they had to do Iron Man, which was a risk. They thought Hulk was going to be a success, but Captain America, set in the 40s, they had no idea if that was going to work. And then Thor, about a Norse god, they were like, so they had to get through all of those films before getting to Avengers. And so they're like, we may go bankrupt after this first movie. So they stuck it behind the credits out of necessity in case it didn't pan out. And they didn't film it until the very end because it was just kind of like a pie in the sky idea. They didn't even sign Samuel L. Jackson on to a deal until after Iron Man 2. So it was a just like with everything with Iron Man, it was a gamble to begin with.
The comic nerd in me loved the fact that there was end credit scenes, because for the simple fact is, like, every time you read a comic book, there's always like a slick for a little preview of the next comic that was coming out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So on that note, I didn't even know there was an end credit scene until after, I think, Thor came out. Whatever the third movie was. Thor was the third movie, right? Or was Captain America? Yeah. Captain America was the fourth movie, right?
No.
And it must have been Thor.
Captain America
was the fourth.
Yeah, because Captain America was the one that was immediately
to Captain America. Thor's the fifth.
Okay. And so
wait, Thor's the fifth?
Yeah, because Iron Man, Hulk, Iron Man 2 was the third one. Captain America. Thor.
Okay. Yeah. So I didn't even know there was an end credit scene to Iron Man 1 until after I saw Iron Man 2. Because I just wasn't paying attention. I saw the Hulk one because it's like a mid-credit scene. It's not an end-credit scene. It's like a mid-credit scene. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I guess they're tying these movies together. Because, like, I liked those movies, but at the time, I was dumb and didn't really realize what they were setting up or trying to do. I was just like, oh, cool, more superhero movies. And, oh, they might do an Iron Man Hulk movie one day. That's neat. And, by the way, like that, and well, we'll talk about it the next episode, because that end credit scene in Hulk is kind of like doesn't really make sense now.
Terrific. I actually have to watch that film.
Yeah, you do.
LeRon
didn't want to include it. You jerk.
Yeah, I did. I did.
It counts. 100% it counts.
Yeah, apparently it does. But my whole thing is that basically, and you guys will hear me say this when we start doing Spider-Man. Like I hate when they reboot films way too early.
Yeah.
Like I do.
I get that.
So, and it's not the fact that I'm even pissed off about like the whole Eric Bana Ang Lee movie. Like I'm not even upset about that. I'm like, man, you just did this. You're starting over again, and then here comes Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. Like you just did this. You're just getting in Tom Holland's Spider-Man. And I was like, wait, well, hold the hell on. Like I almost did not go see the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies. Until I found out that it was like, oh, this is Peter Parker still in high school. I'll go check it out, see what happens.
Yeah. It's so this end credit scene, like when I finally watched it, and I didn't see the end credit scene until after I saw a couple other end credit scenes, and it didn't have the same impact as I'm sure it would have had. If I was up on the Avengers, because at that time, I still didn't really care about the Avengers. I was always an X-Men first guy, and I even tried to defend X-Men 3 for a while. And one of those. I even tried to defend X-Men Origins Wolverine for a while. I was that guy. So, by the way, movie not good. We need to do those movies too.
There are good parts to it. There are bad parts to it. I love the X-Men movies.
I do too. I love the X-Men movies because I know they're not great, and I'm gonna go in for a good time, and I'm gonna hear Hugh Jackman scream and stab someone.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're for.
So, But yeah, so obviously next is Incredible Hulk. Do we kind of want to talk about how what an Iron Man 1 stuck around till now, really? Because as of this recording, the latest movie is No Way Home, right? And Doctor Strange is coming up, and Hawkeye is done. So that's kind of like where we're at as of this recording.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I think I kind of said this earlier, but Iron Man 1 has had so many implications in the MCU. Mm-hmm. So many movies wouldn't exist if it weren't for Iron Man 1. I mean, that great scene that we talked about where Jeff Bridges is yelling at the scientist, that was the crux of the big reveal in Spider-Man Far From Home, where you learn that, spoiler alert, Mysterio is a disgruntled Stark Enterprises employee.
Enterprises.
Yep. And so they show that scene, and so like there are so many movies and now TV shows that wouldn't exist if it weren't for this first movie, which is again crazy to think about because it's such a small film, but the stories that they're able to mine out of this one small film, I mean, we're still feeling it today. I mean, Shang-Chi just came out, and the Mandarin is the villain in Shang-Chi. Yep. And so we're feeling that. The 10 Rings are in Shang-Chi, so we get to learn a little bit more about the organization that kidnapped Tony Stark. So it has had the most impact on the MCU out of any film that they've made, out of any project that they've made. Iron Man 1 is the one that has had the most.
Yeah, I can't say anything more than you said. Like that's perfect.
Yeah, I was muted, and Iron Man just even watching it, going back and watching it, right? Like seeing just what's happening now, like you said, like they talk about the 10 Rings, they talk about so many things, and like seeing the guy from Spider-Man in there, like you said, Mark, like all these little things. It's amazing how much they've kept up with through almost 30 movies based on this one movie, right? Like you said, Mark, Spider-Man wouldn't exist without Tony Stark in the MCU. It's insane. It's so crazy what this one movie, this small movie that like it's a great movie. It's not an amazing movie, but it's a great movie, but what it kicked off and what they're still calling back to, and who knows what we're going to see in the next couple of years, right? That still call back to this movie. It's just crazy. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So normally we would wrap the show with a ranking. Obviously Iron Man's the first movie, so it's going to sit here at number 1. We should probably have a list going. I'm going to write this down in my head. I mean, we could probably just keep it going in our Discord.
I'd imagine that they would stay at number 1 for a bit.
Yeah.
For quite a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, because we got some stinkers following that up.
Yeah. Do we?
Yep.
Do we?
Okay. You know what? Here's a quick preview. Like, I did not appreciate the first Thor movie. I did not appreciate Iron Man 2.
I love the first Thor movie.
Mm-hmm.
The third act wasn't great, but the first 2 acts.
No. I feel like that movie. It's just like how I say the second Star Trek movie, Star Trek Into Darkness, wasn't all that good. It wasn't a good superhero film in my opinion, and it wasn't really a good action film. Now, given that we're in this series right now, I'm gonna have to watch it again apparently because like it's not fresh in my brain. But I will say this: I actually appreciate Dark World a lot better than I appreciate Thor 1.
Ooh.
And apparently everyone hates the Dark World, which I don't get because. Well, hold on. How do we not appreciate Dark World when spoilers in Endgame? The moment in time they go back to is in the Dark World.
Yeah, because they had to do so. They were like, "Here's the biggest stinker of our past 10 years. We got to do something to try to redeem it." So
here's the thing.
I don't want to hear it.
Here's the thing. I've only seen Thor: The Dark World once, and I don't remember anything about it. So, Phase. So I actually went through like this weird kind of jumping around. Like I tried to watch them in order, but I skipped Thor: The Dark World because I was like, I think people don't like this movie, so I'm just gonna skip it, even though it probably is important. Phase 2 was not like a great phase of the MCU.
What?
Phase 2 was kind of like, I mean, like
we had Winter Soldier.
Hold on. Winter Soldier is personally my favorite MCU movie. It's the only obviously we're going to rewatch them. That might change, but right now that is personally my favorite MCU movie. It's the only good to great movie out of Phase 2, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would think overall, like, Phase 1 was kind of a building thing. Phase 2 kind of took a little bit of a step back. It had some higher highs than Phase 1, but it had some lower lows than Phase 1. And then Phase 3 is really where it really kind of got very creative and kind of got to sing. And
so I do have something fun we could do right now. Since we can't really rank anything right now, we could predict our rankings of Phase 1 right now. I mean, I know some of us have probably seen some of the movies more recent than others, but like where I sit right now, the only Phase 1 movie I think I've rewatched besides Iron Man in the last probably year is the first Captain America movie, I think. And I really love that movie. I know it's not great, but I really love that movie for some reason. So like if we want to kind of like predict where our personal rankings are and then kind of form a prediction ranking of Phase 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we had Iron Man, then we had the Incredible Hulk. They both came out in the same year. Then we had Iron
2
Man
months
2
apart.
in 2010.
Right.
Thor was in 2011. Captain America was in 2011 as well, and then we had Avengers in 2012. So there's our 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 6 movies for Phase 1. Now, I'm just gonna. You know what? You guys start. I'm gonna give myself a number score for each movie, and then I'll tell you what the average is.
Well, yeah.
me.
Well, what I want to do is kind of like do like a mathematical list here, where like our number 1s are 5 points, our number 5s are 1 point, and then we kind of like,
that's kind of what I was doing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then kind of like predict the list from here, because I think the list is going to be ridiculous once we get through these first 6 films, right? There's six, right? Yeah.
6.
Yeah.
6.
Okay. So, Mark, do you want to go first?
Yeah, so I'm just telling you, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. My order.
Yeah.
I'll do 6 to 1.
Okay, 6 to 1.
Yeah. So
Okay.
6 is the Incredible Hulk. 5 is Iron Man 2. 4 is Captain America. 3 is Thor.
Okay.
I can't decide. I think 2 is Avengers and 1 is Iron Man.
Okay. What about you, LeRon?
Okay, I guess I'll do the same thing, Mark. So I'll go from 6 to 1. 6 is Iron Man 2. 5 is Thor. You know what? I'm being nice to Incredible Hulk right now, so I'll give that a 4. I'm being nice because I would have automatically said it was a 5 or a 6, but I'll be nice right now because I need to rewatch it and be more objective. Number 3 is Captain America. Number 2 is Avengers, and number 1 is Iron Man.
Man, Iron Man is getting some love here. Oh man. Okay, so I guess my list is incredibly different from both of yours.
Let's hear it. I bet Thor's
Okay.
is number one.
No, God, no.
Watch.
No, I don't like Thor at all.
Okay.
Thor is my.
Well, why'd you cheerlead for it a moment ago then?
Oh, I said. Wait, I didn't.
I cheerleaded.
Yeah, it was Mark. I
said I
didn't say
love
anything about Thor. I thought Thor was weird. It felt like the most low budget of all of the MCU up to this point, which I think when I looked up the budgets, it was the lowest budget.
Now when we hit the phase where Thor Ragnarok's in, talk to me again.
Okay. I'm not as high on Thor Ragnarok as everybody else. I don't think.
Man, Thor Ragnarok.
I just don't think it's a Thor film. I think it's a good movie. I just don't think it's a Thor film.
Okay, you know what? I can agree with you with that, Mark, because you know what? I don't like the Thor comics. So,
I don't really either. I just think it's a different character than who they had been building up thus far in the MCU.
I feel like Ragnarok had one of the strongest. And I don't mean this metaphorically either. I feel like Hela was one of the strongest villains. And like everything they tried out in the MCU, I feel like she was damn near stronger than freaking Thanos, and Thanos is the extinction level event.
All right, here's
What's your ranking?
Here's my ranking. Thor at 6, Hulk at 5, Iron Man 2 at 4, Avengers 3, Iron Man 2, and Captain America 1.
Okay.
So I'm gonna try to do this math real quick, unless Mark looks like he's being real studious over there. I can't tell if he's doing math or not.
I'm writing down everyone's things.
Oh, I also did. I was trying. No, go ahead. You're the MCU man.
I wasn't doing the math. I wasn't doing.
Oh, you weren't doing the math.
I was writing down.
Oh, okay.
Just for posterity. I don't know.
Okay, so
I was being completely irresponsible and not doing that.
Hold on. I just want to see. Man, math is hard right now. Writing everything down. So Hulk has 1 point. 1 plus 3 is 4. Plus 2 is 6. So Hulk is 6. Hulk. Whoops, I wrote Halo instead. Hulk. Oh my gosh, come on. Hulk.
Somebody has
6
a problem.
points. I know. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Iron Man 2. So there's 2 points, 3 points, 6 points. Iron Man 2 also has 6 points. So far, Iron Man 2 and Hulk are tied at 6. This is great radio. So someone keep the ball rolling so I don't have to keep rambling about the math. Unless this is good content.
Actually, no. This is good content. Everybody learns how bad Corey is at math now.
Shut up. This is why I went to school for art and I'm not an engineer. Okay. 3.
Or we tease them with the results at the beginning of the next episode.
Do we want to do that? No.
Yeah, I mean, we can. I just making a joke.
I mean, we could. So.
I was mostly making a joke.
Oh, well. 3. So Captain America 3. 7. What's 7 plus 6? 13. 13. Captain America's in the lead by over double. Thor. So 4. 6. 7. Thor is at 7 points. All right. Avengers 5. 10. 10 plus 3. Avengers is at 13.
That's kind of low.
Yeah. So we have.
The highest could be 18.
Wait, did I miss one? No, I didn't miss one. Iron Man. Yeah. Iron Man.
Yeah, the
so
highest
612. 612 plus 5 is 17. So Iron Man 1 is at 17. So that means Iron Man is predicted to be first place at 17 points. And then At 2 would be Avengers and Captain
Avengers at
America.
12. Oh.
Did I math wrong?
No, that sounds right.
Avengers is in second, so second place for Mark and LeRon, so that's 10 points. And then me, it was in third place, so that's 4 points. Oh, it's 14 points. I mathed wrong.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
Avengers is second. Captain America is third.
Captain America's third.
And then we have Thor at 4th place.
Man, y'all are nice.
Yeah. Iron Man and Hulk come up in 5th and 6th place.
Wait,
Man, when you rewatch Thor, watch that first 2/3. It is a good movie.
So here's our prediction ranking. Officially, Iron Man at number 1, Avengers at 2, Captain America at 3, Thor at 4, Iron Man 2 at 5, and Incredible Hulk in last place. Which I think Hulk's a better movie than that, but that's just me.
I may change my mind when we get to Avengers and make it number one.
I may change my mind about the Incredible Hulk because now apparently I have to take it seriously. So
you do take it very seriously. I expect some Hulk hands on the next episode, LeRon. I expect your face to be painted green. I expect some purple shorts.
Wait! That's the next episode. Crap! I don't even have I don't even have buffer time for this. Jeez.
You're right. You don't. You don't. But
do they have it? Do they have it in 4K?
Yeah, they do. So go get it.
Maybe that'll help me enjoy it.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Standard Definition. Well, thank everybody for watching and or listening. Remember, you can get the show 2 weeks early over on Patreon, patreon.com/BostonRussian Thank you, Mark and LeRon, for taking the time to do this. This is
always a pleasure.
This is a big task. And, you know.
Looks like we're committed. We're recording this every other week, right?
Yeah,
we're basically doing this the entire year.
Well, we have to.
Right.
I think we have to record next week as well. But I mean, the episodes will release every other week. We can record whenever, right? But the show will release every other. The Marvel Cinematic Universe will release every other week. So,
gotcha.
But yeah, Mark, where can we find you?
You can find me at Boss Rush, writing articles. Sometimes weekly, we'll see. And you can find me on Twitter. My handle is except in Pererra.
LeRon.
Exodus 803, EXODUS 803. Find it everywhere. Social media, Twitch and YouTube. Gamer tags for PlayStation Network and Xbox. I'm even called Exodus 803 on Nintendo Switch, but I don't know my Switch code, so you know.
Why not? You didn't memorize your 16-digit number you have to hand out to everybody?
Man, do you know how long it took me to memorize my driver's license number? Because in the state of Virginia, that's a big deal.
No, did not. I've never even looked at my driver's license number. I know it starts with SP something. So
yeah, you know, it's crazy because in the state of Virginia, you can give your driver's license number, and it basically substitutes as your freaking Social Security number.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, not many people do it, but you can.
Oh.
Yeah, but yeah, Tuesday nights 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, twitch.tv/Exodus803, Crossroads PlayStation Podcast. Me and some friends, we're just a bunch of nerds talking about PlayStation stuff and some PC gaming.
Try to slowly incorporate that in there, are you?
Well, I don't know. I think eventually there'll just be a PC game show.
Man. Who's going to be on it? Just you and are you going to script it out and then it's just going to be you talking to yourself?
See, if I talk into the void, that's not going to work.
But like, you could like script it out where like you do like you film yourself talking about something and then you'll film yourself on a separate camera
being the response
with a different shirt on, right?
With a different voice. I don't know about that.
Anyways, you can find me at IamCoreyInHD on Twitter and Instagram. You can find me hosting the Boss Rush podcast every week on Wednesday nights, right or, well, we're not live, are we? Nope. Twitch.tv/Bosch Network, or on podcast services on Monday mornings. Also, you can get that 3 days early if you're a patron. Also, we pulled that little trigger too, so you can do that. You can also find me on Arsenal X, the Xbox podcast as well. I want to thank everybody so much for watching. Remember, your homework is to watch The Incredible Hulk, because we're doing that in 2 weeks. Until next time, goodbye, everybody.